Hello, team, and welcome to Bureaucracy. I'm your host, Emily Gross, and today we're going to be talking about the new SCOTUS appointee, which is thrilling. I'm so excited to talk about her, and today I have the incredible Ediberto Roman with me. So excited to have him. I'm going to let him introduce himself because he does so many cool things that I cannot even list all of them down. So why don't you say hi, Ediberto?
Hi, folks. I'm currently a professor at Florida International University, and this semester I'm also a visiting professor at St. Thomas University School of Law. So I keep myself
Ooh.
busy teaching and writing and annoying people when I can.
Yes, which is exactly what I do as well, or as like my mom likes to say that I do. So what do you teach?
Oh, I teach about 20 different courses. I teach everything from contracts to torts, business organizations,
All right.
antitrust, products liability, and about a dozen others.
So
A lot of
basically
boring stuff.
everything. All right. So all the law all the time. And so you don't drink, which is totally fair. We support that 100%. However, I have a beer today. I sent my mom on the beer run and I was like, hey, here's a list of about 15 black woman owned beers or just like person of color owned breweries and beers that I would like for you to find. And she comes back with, I couldn't find any of those, but I found a Florida beer which is called Captain Ron Wheat Ale. And this man is the antithesis of what I was looking for, but hopefully his beer tastes fine. And that's why, folks, is can't trust moms with everything. You trust them with 99%, but not on beer runs. But let's get into it. Okay, this is so exciting. President Biden has nominated a new person to replace Justice Breyer. Her name is Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. She has a fascinating history, and I would just love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about her history, about her background.
Sure. She grew up in Miami, went to public high school, Palmetto High School down here in Miami. Her parents were school teachers, and she's, homegrown public school product, the kind of bootstrap, kind of all American dream story.
Another huge thing about her is the fact that she was a public defender, which is killer. So cool. Fantastic. Great human. Um,
Yes.
yes.
The first nominee that's a public defender, and someone that's eminently qualified. I mean, the added not only the advantage of looking at the defense side, an expert in criminal law, a part of a judiciary committee on defend. Dealing with defense related issues, and someone that has been in a courtroom is a novelty on the federal bench, and
Is
and
that
and
really?
certainly in the court. Yeah, ironically, I mean, a lot of them have some experience, and are partners, but it's not unusual for someone to be a partner at a big firm, even the litigation department, and not have a lot of trial experience. It sounds odd, but it's often the case.
That checks out. That honestly makes a lot of sense with the way bureaucracy works in America. Unfortunately. So she grew up Miami public school. I read that her dad started going to law school and she was in preschool, and that was really formative for
Right.
her. Harvard
Yeah.
grad, incredible.
Harvard,
Yep.
double Harvard, then worked, unlike most federal judges, as I noted, has a lot of trial experience, was a federal public defender in the District of Columbia, has a great deal of experience with respect to that, dealt with a lot of significant cases in her experience. And, she's going to be among the most qualified jurists, not only in terms of her credentials, as we pointed out, in terms of Harvard, but also was a clerk at the district court level, a clerk at the appellate court level, and a clerk for the justice that she's hopefully eventually going to replace. Then became a judge at the district court level, then became a judge at the appellate court level, and hopefully will end up at the Supreme Court.
And she recently became a judge at the appellate court level, right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. A little less than a year, if I recall correctly.
Okay. So she's on an exponential rise. I I admire that. I dream for that. My parents wish that for me. So hopefully hopefully that will continue. So let's kind of dive into it. So what are some of her opinions? Because I know since she was only really on the appellate court briefly and considered in terms, there are not a lot of written opinions of hers that people are able to really judge on, which I think could actually probably benefit her in this
Yeah, it could.
process.
It could. Certainly at the Court of Appeals level, there's
Okay.
one decision that she wrote, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But about the one that's probably the best known was the House of Judiciary Committee, House of Representative case against Don McCann, where President Trump came up with a novel argument. Not unlike many of his statements,
Yeah.
out of the blue, and argues some sort of privilege associated with McGahn testifying and or providing documents before the House committee. And she wrote over 100-page opinion
Wow.
that basically struck down all the kind of novel arguments and basically was an unassailable defense of her position. I think one of the important things to know is that we often politicize these nominations, but we have someone here that's eminently qualified, has more experience than the majority of the justices that are on the court right now, and also is someone that focuses on process and procedure. In terms of this issue, the case was one that, frankly, if I was a jurist, I probably would have came to the same conclusion with a lot less pages. But she's so
Right.
thorough and she's so thoughtful. It is one that she's was dead on the mark with respect to that. And a host of other decisions she focused on process. It was an immigration decision that she ruled on when she was on the district court that essentially tried to prevent Homeland Security from changing their rules with respect to fast track deportations. Now,
Right.
ultimately, she was overruled by the Court of Appeals that she now sits on with
Interesting.
respect to it. But frankly, as someone who teaches both immigration and administrative law, she was making the decision under what is known as the Administrative Procedure Act. She was right on the issue. The agency was overstepping, and I happen to disagree with the appellate court there. So she's someone that's not just,
You mean the
frankly,
Department
for
of
lack
Homeland
of,
Security overstepping? Wow.
oh, not at all. Yeah. And
Crazy
she's one that believes in
concept.
process. That's right. She believes in process and procedures,
Yeah.
and she follows the law. So these are opinions that she's really well known for. More recently, she had an opinion, the one opinion that she wrote while on the appellate court, and that opinion is. Uh, Dealing with the issue of basically also procedure with respect to the federal regulations and an employment setting, to what extent the federal agency can change their rules concerning collective bargaining agreements. And once again, she focused on the administrative law, administrative procedures, and ruled that basically their efforts were inconsistent with what they were trying to do. Again, someone following process and procedure, someone sticking to the law, not unlike, frankly, the person that she's going to replace in Justice Breyer.
Obviously, the court is not supposed to be politicized, right? And judges are supposed to look, they all have different ways of interpreting the Constitution, which is kind of where a lot of these differences come to lie. However, the court has become so politicized, which is unfortunately leading to a lot of people to not really trust its judgment anymore. Obviously, she's being nominated by a liberal president, someone who identifies with the Democratic Party. She is replacing a thought of liberal judge, right? So is it safe to say that she is a liberal judge? Or how
Um,
would you say she
I
interprets the
know
Constitution?
they try to avoid, right? They try to
Right.
avoid answering questions like this, as she did, and Mitch McConnell, among others, were criticizing her with respect to her refusal to take stances, which is perfectly appropriate.
Right.
One in the process of the nomination, the advice consent role that the Senate has, not to respond to this, which process has just begun. So I don't believe she will answer any decisions that would appear before her, because basically that would conflict her out of those decisions, and it would be inappropriate. It would be prejudging these cases. So, but the realities are, the chances are she would be left leaning, consistent with what, frankly, President Trump did. And the reasons
Right.
why she's on the appellate court that she's on right now, because Merrick Garland was supposed to be on the United States Supreme Court. And if it wasn't for the
Right.
shenanigans that Mitch McConnell played with respect to the nomination of Garland, that wouldn't have, he would have been on the court much earlier, and maybe she would have been the one stepping up. It's a little bit of hindsight right now,
Right.
but the chances are she would have been the one, or at least on a short list with respect to this. But now, when Garland became the Attorney General, she took his place a little less than a year ago.
Mitch
But I think
McConnell.
it's fair to say she's gonna be on leaning left, but I think a consensus builder, not unlike
Interesting.
Breyer. I mean, this court is probably 6-3 in
Yeah.
terms of conservatives versus liberals, but surprisingly, on a host of decisions, including the Affordable Care Act, among others, the court has sided with the more liberal bent, and including Chief Justice Roberts. I think she's someone that would be able to bring some of the conservatives up by focusing on process and procedure.
Interesting. It sounds a lot of. I like that. You know, I took con law in undergrad. Loved the class. Did not do the best, but I tried my
Mhm.
darndest. But you know, it's really interesting to see how, especially we focused a lot of Antonin Scalia and just the way, even though he was considered very conservative, the way he was just such an originalist and really just focused on the way of which the Constitution was originally written. And I hoping that, although I didn't agree with a lot of his opinions and stuff like that, getting back to just the due process of how the justices interpret the Constitution as either a living document or something that's should be set in stone. So it seems like she's has all the good qualifications, and for anyone that tries to say no is just a little turd. As I don't know if you've listened to this podcast before, but my favorite term for them is evil asshats, and so
Okay. I think that's probably fair. I think they'll
yeah,
try, but I don't. I'm hopeful that they won't succeed for a lot of reasons. One,
yeah,
her qualifications are unmatched, and I think surprisingly, people are sick of the gamesmanship, coupled with the fact that we're hopefully not, but on a given day, hearing of one potential world disaster associated with Ukraine and the
yeah,
war there. I think that's keeping the bandwidth pretty filled right now, and I don't think it's prudent for the Senate and the conservative leaders on the Senate to make an issue with it. Really shouldn't be none any. She's just incredibly qualified, great experience. There's really nothing to attack her other than the fact that she was a public defender, and frankly, the court should welcome that, given the limited experience, trial experience of the members of the existing court. She'll add diversity, not only in terms of trial experience, in terms of public defender's office, as well as the obvious identity markers in terms of being the first Black woman on the court.
gotcha. And so, yeah, let's talk about our public defender. I was looking at one big case that a lot of the news media is expecting that Congress is going to give her a lot of crap about, and that is her representing someone who is accused of terrorist activities and was held in Guantanamo Bay. How is that going to come to play? How do you think that's going to be
I think
used?
it's a soundbite type tactic,
Yeah,
but the realities are when you're a public defender or engage in criminal defense, which I've done in more in the white collar crime area. At least in the white collar crime, the firm would select who would they hire, and we would represent among the most notorious people
right.
in recent past. But the realities are, as a litigator and a defense counsel in particular, it's part of the process. It's what makes the American process perceived to be the best in the world in terms of each side gets the best lawyers that they can get. And from that battle, so to speak, the adversarial process, we try to come up with the truth. So I think to suggest that she somewhat aligns with a certain viewpoint just because she represented someone, it's pretty naive. It's
Yeah, that's a
Trump-like, frankly.
guarantee you Fox and Tucker Carlson are going to be like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," but
Yeah,
it's
I'm
bullshit.
sure they've already tried.
Yeah, no,
I'm
oh yeah.
sure
He
they're
was like,
already.
show her make us shows her LSAT scores. And I was like, dude, I was like, you probably can't even pee in the toilet correctly. Like, why are you talking? So I'm really excited to have her appointed. And I hope that she brings a lot of the validity back to the court that the court is so desperately in need of ever since Witchy Mitchy has gotten a hold
Yeah,
of.
she's. I can't think of a better candidate unless something comes up. I mean, she happens to also have a beautiful family.
Hmm.
Husband's a surgeon, two beautiful daughters. I was doing some background research with respect to her, and it's kind of she's lived the American dream. And you just look at the picture of her; she just looks like a nice person,
She
frankly, and
does
which
look
is
so lovely. Like I would just love to have
who
coffee with
does.
her. I could see myself like crying about like childhood trauma or something. You know, like I think we would have just like a great time. at an overly
Yeah.
priced cafe.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
trust me, I've even written positively about some Supreme Court justices that I've met, and even that some that are iconic figures. And you meet them, and they don't have the time of day for you, frankly, no
Yeah,
matter who you are with respect to it. And she just
totally.
strikes me that she won't be that type of person. It's truly fantastic because they during the week that she was nominated, they had interviews of students, local students from that high school, and the pride. And it was just beaming. And I don't know if you got a chance to hear it, if it was leaked or it was done on purpose as a PR stunt. But when
Yeah,
she thanked President Biden, it was the sweetest, most sincere thank you message that I had ever heard anyone give. And
that's
given her
awesome.
credentials, you wouldn't expect that level of sincerity. But she seems like a wonderful human being. And I'm looking forward to reading her opinion. She's gonna reshape the court, I believe, even though there is still that 6-3 uh, politically bent court on the right. I think she's going to bring over middle of the ground like Gorsuch and Roberts on certain issues. On certain issues,
Right.
we'll see. We'll see. But I foresee it's going to be a battle, and they'll try to make hay. But her record's almost unassailable. The only defense they'll have is she's weak on crime, and that's as I tell my students, anyone that works for public defender's office, you're going to get that attack. Be prepared with
Which
respect
is
to
so
it. But the realities
stupid.
are that part of our process. Yes,
It's so stupid. Oh, it's just such an
I
asinine
agree.
argument. So let's dive into what's the process of nominating a Supreme Court justice and then the
Well,
appointment process.
yeah. So basically, it's the role of the president, and that's why elections count so much, right?
Hmm.
We had Donald Trump with some shenanigans, as you know, have an important role in appointing justices to the Supreme Court. One in which, frankly, Kavanaugh, I don't believe he should have ever had that
No,
opportunity. But
he's
the shenanigans were what they
bullshit.
were. Not only in terms of the process, but also the justice himself in terms of uh, his
Yeah,
prior
he's a full-on turd.
improprieties.
You don't have to say it, but I will say it. He's a turd.
um, but President Biden has taken his role as commander in chief and the leader of the executive to basically appoint the person, and then they go through the process, the advice and consent process through the Senate. And given prior rulings by the Senate and changing the procedures, right now they need a simple majority. And right now the Democrats would have that. Basically, it's a 50-50 split, but given that
With Kamala
Vice
Harris.
President
Yeah.
Harris will be the deciding vote, it's almost assured that she will be confirmed. I think the hope is, I mean, we do have some red Democrats, and we've seen that before with respect to some of President Biden's agenda for the
Mansion and
recovery.
cinema.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but I think they'll toe the line here. There's really no grounds not to elevate her to the Supreme Court. I can't conceive of one in any of her opinions. She's got better credentials, more experience. An incredible backstory, adds to diversity, not only in terms of identity markers, but in terms of trial experience, in terms of defense experience. She brings such wealth to the court. We should be all proud that she'll be on it.
So, do you think because I know there's some heavy hitting Republicans that are on the Judiciary Committee, one of them being Josh Hawley, and I went to school in St. Louis, and he is a plague. That's my personal opinion. So, how do you think this process is going to go? I mean, we talked about how she's probably going to get a lot of slack for being a public defender and the tough on crime thing, which is stupid. But I mean, no matter what, hopefully, unless the two red Democrats do not align with the party in this situation, she should hopefully have a long time. And I saw when she was appointed to the DC court of the appeals court,
Mhm.
it was like a 53-44. So we're hoping that will be the same case. But what do
Right.
you think we should look out for as this goes on? Because it's happening March 21st, I think.
Yeah, I don't foresee a lot of anything new.
Okay.
They're going to beat the drum of weak on crime, and to the extent there's anything in the news that they can draw a nexus to, any major criminal event, or may it not be the case, any attack on the country, or anything that they can hang their hat on to try to taint her, they'll try everything from the fact that she has a family member that was convicted of a crime, a distant family member, and again, nothing to do with her. How many of us have are in positions where we have that uncle that either engaged in that activity or got caught for it,
And also,
in
for
terms of
context,
it.
sorry to interrupt you, this uncle was arrested for possession of cocaine from the war on drugs. So do with that information as you will. But yes.
Right. But by the same token, she has other uncles that were in law enforcement, a long history of family members that are supportive of law enforcement, parents that are school teachers, and then one became an attorney. I mean, just an incredible story. I don't
She's
see
like
how
picture perfect.
they,
I truly cannot think
she
of
really
any.
is.
Yeah, no, I
She
cannot think
really
of
is.
anyone else that it like checks all the boxes. You know,
Yeah,
she's
they'll
great.
be prepped too. I think she was in all likelihood vetted extensively before they
Yeah.
decided
Oh yeah.
on her, and then she'll be prepped well before, and will likely be more forthcoming. Just my guess. I have never met her or appeared before her, but my sense of the individual will be more forthright in her answers, but won't divulge anything where she shouldn't. Frankly, no jurist should do that, and I think this is a dangerous one because to the extent the Republicans try to overstep with someone so qualified, there could be some backlash with respect to it. But again, I think the focus of the country right now is so much in the wartime efforts with respect to Ukraine, and fears and anxiety with respect to that. Why make an issue where there shouldn't be one? So I suspect it's going to go fairly smoothly. The vote, I suspect, will be, I'm hopeful that it was at least 52, maybe 53, in terms of a few. Because remember, as you pointed out, she was already confirmed by the Senate twice in terms of being a district court judge as well as a court of appeals judge. And some of these same senators are going to be hard pressed, like Collins, to give a justification. Why was she good for a lower court and not now? Did you not
Right.
pay attention before? And we know how selectively principled politicians can be, particularly Republicans. But
Oh
the
yeah.
realities are they're going to be hard pressed. They're going to be hard pressed to find a chink in her armor, because there's frankly no Achilles heels that I can tell or see yet.
I hope they won't. However, I guarantee you they'll probably make a chink and then go for it themselves. But
They'll try.
hopefully,
They'll try. They'll
yeah,
try.
they'll try their darnest. But hopefully, they'll have some common sense going on because
How's the
truly,
beer, by the way?
you know, it tastes like toxic masculinity.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I know what the term
It
is, but
tastes
not what it tastes
average.
like. Oh,
Yeah,
okay, all right,
sorry.
all right. I
Yeah,
was considering really weak, ultimately.
it does taste. It's a little weak and it tastes very average.
Okay, all right.
Like most white men that I know. So sorry. No, this has been great. I think this is a lot of really important information, and especially since she's 51, which means if she is elected, she can be on the court for like 30 years, which is huge, especially since Trump got away with so much.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's a shame, and it should be more of an issue, frankly.
yeah.
And we're going to see. I mean, any day now, with respect to the viability of Roe versus Wade.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember conservative family members telling me not to fear, they'll stick. And I said to myself, you know little about the process if you think that, if it's not a politicized process.
Yeah, and
Time will still tell.
yeah, unfortunately. Anyways, donate to your local Planned Parenthood, folks. But I have no other questions. I think she seems like an incredibly qualified candidate. She would be the first Black woman to ever be on the Supreme Court, which is huge and very much long overdue. She has an incredible background. She is so overqualified. Would you have any other comments or any other statements that you would love for people to know?
She is a perfect nominee. There's no reason to doubt her qualifications, her ability, her intellect. Just outstanding, brilliant, and seems like a wonderful human being. So I look forward to the court looking more like the rest of us, frankly,
Yeah,
and that's what we all aspire to in this country, especially uh, you know individuals like my daughters to see that diversity and that beauty and brilliance come to the fore.
absolutely. No, it is so important. Identity politics are so important, but also just based on the fact that she has, once again, all these credentials of going to public school and growing up with parents that were in the education system and, going to Harvard and
Harvard
being a public
graduate,
defender, just like
editor of the Law Review. I mean, just
exactly. She's done so much and
understandable.
she's experienced so much that having her on the court would be incredible. I have no other questions. This has been great. This is a little bit of a shorter podcast just because, just wanted to give a background on her and hopefully we'll be able to see a couple more of her opinions and whatnot. But since she's been just only on the Court of Appeals for a little bit of time, not able to see as much, but definitely feels like she's brilliant and really kind of looks on process and all that good stuff. So,
Right. And more experience as a federal judge, though, because she was a district
right.
court judge, than all but four of the other justices. So she would be among the most experienced as a federal judge as well. So
That's
again,
wild.
no ground to criticize her. The only potential criticism is her time on the Court of Appeals, but that shouldn't be a basis whatsoever, given her other credentials. Compare her to Justice Souter, for example, and she measures up quite well. So again, no basis to disqualify her or frankly even criticize her. She's just outstanding.
Absolutely. Yeah, all I can say is as we watch her go through the entire process of questioning and whatnot by the senators, um, keep an eye out for any remarks that might seem like they're stemming from racism because if it looks like racism, it smells like racism, chances are it's racism and that's bullshit. So look at her credentials, look at what she brings to the table, and anyone who tries to disqualify that is full of shit.
I like the way you say it.
Thank you. We get very to the point on this podcast.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
very much to the point. But Ediberto, it has been absolutely lovely to have you. Thank you for blessing us with your intellect and all your knowledge. It has been absolutely incredible. So, and hoping,
Oh, I enjoyed it.
good, I'm so glad, and hoping in the next couple of weeks we will see her officially appointed, and that would be so exciting.
Yes.
Everyone, thank you so much. This has been a great episode of Bureaucracy. I'm your host, Emily Griffs, and we'll be back next week.